UFC Vegas 102. This is the weigh-in recap show, full card predictions, and the betting breakdown. I'm looking forward to talking about each of the matchups after seeing the fighters on the scales. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure you share the video too. And also note I'll be live for the whole card. Fight Companion Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. You don't want to miss it. We did have one fight get canceled. Jared Gordon was supposed to fight against Rizzy Boyev, the brother of Nursultan Rizzy Boyev. He looked really fat in the pictures that they took for him, and he ended up not even weighing in. So Gordon makes weight, but Rizzy Boyev does not weigh in. Fight is off. Unfortunate for Gordon, man. Bad luck with a short notice replacement. Also pulling out the day before the fight is what it is. We move forward. Let's get into fight number one. Ladies going after it. It's Julia Avila versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. I feel as though this fight's pretty straightforward. We have a Cavalcanti who's moving up in the ranks and, surging as a prospect versus a part-time fighter in Julia Avila that had hype maybe in 2020, but then got beat by Sijara Eubanks and really has been super inconsistent since that point. I think Cavalcanti's kickboxing is definitely more technical than Avila's brawling striking style. Cavalcanti should be able to out-kickbox her from range. If they tie up, I think Cavalcanti is fine. I could even see her taking Avila down. Avila has a real sus grappling game. She's been submitted before, and I just don't think that she takes fighting as a, main focus, right? I think that she's a part-time fighter. I mean, look, year and 2 months, 3 years, 7 months, 4 years, 5 months, 4 years, 8 months. She was active there. This is when she was riding high. I remember she was a prospect that people were excited about, and then as a big favorite, she got bodied by Sijara Eubanks. She's not beating Jacqueline Cavalcanti. It's Cavalcanti, probably 30-27. I see her outworking, outstriking, and dominating Avila to a win. To be fair, though, Avila questionable on the ground. Maybe Cavalcanti shows a different wrinkle in her game, which is the grappling side. Now, I do want to check out the scales here. Let's see how everybody looks on these scales, all right? We're going to check it all out now. Or not. Or not. Now we're going to check it out. Jacqueline Cavalcanti was my main focus to talk about. This is a woman who takes fighting extremely serious and is looking to become a world champion. Do you see the fucking shape that she is in? That's top 10 shape. That's high caliber shape. That's a full-time fighter. Now, to be fair, Julia Avila doesn't look bad on the scales. Looks like the woman from the 101 Dalmatians with the gray hair with the black. I don't think it's a great look. Kind of looks also like the Wicked Witch of the fucking West, but that's besides the point. No shape to her. Fucking jacked and shredded. She looks like Leon Edwards, okay? Physique. This is like a female Leon Edwards build. That's as aesthetic as you can get. And then Cavalcanti a bit taller. Better shape. More of a full-time fighter. You and I both know the way this fight is going to go. It's Cavalcanti 30-27. Fight probably going, the over 2.5 round mark. But yeah, it's Cavalcanti all day. I don't think Avila is going to have anything for her. As far as the lines here, it's minus 720 for Cavalcanti. So you can't really do anything besides parlay it, but even then, you're not going to get much bang for your buck. Avila plus 520 is a fair-sized underdog, but I would not bet on a part-time fighter as an underdog. Over 2.5, relatively likely at minus 325. Cavalcanti hasn't really shown the finishing ability at a high level, but she does have 3 knockout wins. To be fair, Avila could end up getting submitted just if Cavalcanti shows us a different level there. It's like with a prospect like her, that's what, 27, the improvements she's going to make fight to fight are wild. Cavalcanti wins by decision. Yeah, minus 225. KO plus 350. Her by sub would be wild, plus 1,000. I'll predict she wins 3 rounds, 3-0. Outstrikes Julia Avila to hard-fought unanimous decision. She keeps a good pace on her. Touches her from range. The wins for Cavalcanti are against decent strikers, Nunes and Cornell. I mean, the Farron fight, it's a clean win, but Farron is not good. So yeah, Julia Avila is probably going to get cut from the UFC after this one. Cavalcanti, a decent prospect that's building at this point. I'm going to say she gets a pretty clean win. So Jacqueline Cavalcanti for the W. Next fight on the card, we got the big boys going after it. A little heavyweight action. Valter Walker versus Don'Tale Mayes. I've been picking Volter Walker all week, and I have mentioned that he got in way better shape last fight from his UFC debut. When you guys see him on the scale, you're going to be like, wow, this guy's leveling up. Volter Walker is taking his MMA career very serious since transitioning to the UFC, and I think he's going to take Don'Tale Mayes down. Ultimately, Don'Tale Mayes is not a very talented fighter. He's durable, I would say, has a little bit of power. He's got some experience. I mean, he's got his 20th fight he's going to be on, 11-7 record go. He's a very 50-50 fighter. I don't even know how he's ranked in the top 15. I do not understand the heavyweight rankings at all at this point, but that's besides the point. Clunky in the striking, but he knocked out Arlovsky 2 years ago. Arlovsky was 49 years old? Arlovsky is way past his prime. So yeah, he knocked out Arlovsky. That doesn't mean he has power. I think he's going to get taken down. I think he's live to get submitted. Don'Tale Mayes was subbed by Cyril Gane, and getting submitted by Cyril Gane, not a great look, not by any sense of the word. So I think Volter Walker live for either a grind-heavy dominant decision or maybe a ground and pound or submission finish. I would like to see Walker with a finish. He's got the sub skills to do it and the strength to do damage from top, but he may have to do 15 hard of just pressure wrestling here with Don'Tale, but I don't think he's going to get outgunned on the feet. Mayes is not clean enough. Walker's striking is not great, to be fair. He like dips his head and swings, but it's good enough to land takedowns with, you know? And then there's Volter Walker, bro. I told you he's taking his career serious. The guy came in shredded now. Like for heavyweight, this is one of the best fucking builds you can get. The dude has lost a lot of body fat. He's trimmed it up and he's taking his career serious because he knows he's got the wrestling capabilities and the grappling skill. But now if he can put a pace on these heavyweights, a lot of these guys are fucked. And there's Don'Tale Mayes. The usual look for Mayes. Got a bit of the pot belly. He's a brawler, man. That's what Don'Tale Mayes is. He's a journeyman brawler. Volter Walker handles business. He's going to handle Don'Tale Mayes. It would be a pretty big surprise to see him take a fat L here. I guess you could say, you know, Mayes and him height-wise, I don't know, about the same height, really. Mayes is about 20 pounds heavier, but I would say it's mostly body fat. I don't think it's muscle. And I think Volter Walker is the better athlete, the more dialed-in fighter, and someone that actually has potential, whereas Don'Tale Mayes doesn't. Minus 270 for Walker. I know you're looking at it like, damn, it's wide, but he should win the fight, man. This is not the same Volter Walker that fought Lucas Drezhki either. Like, you got to remember that. He's gotten better since then. He got in better shape. Like, he's more dialed. He's going to win this one. Plus 230 for Don'Tale Mayes. I don't think he's an underdog worth backing. I think Volter Walker wins using grappling. Walker by submission line is currently sitting at plus 400, and then Walker KO plus 550. The thing about Walker is, though he has solid jiu-jitsu, if you look, only 2 wins by submission, I feel like the ground and pound could be a factor. He's got some ground and pound KOs. It'll be interesting, though, because he's got a heel hook in the arsenal, and Don'Tale Mayes got locked in a heel hook by Cyril Gane. And I know it was a long time ago, but losing to Cyril Gane by submission, especially with how his ground game has looked recently, that's like a really bad outcome. Like, it's one thing if he knocks you out or he beats you by a decision, out kickboxing you. But the fact Don'Tale Mayes has been subbed by Cyril, looking back years now later, it's a bad look. Regardless of, you know, Cyril Gane being a former interim champ, his grappling is terrible. Volter Walker is good on the ground. Volter Walker is going to take it there, and I think he's live to submit Don'Tale. I'm going to say submish or ground and pound, but don't be shocked if this fight ends up being a wrestle fucking and Volter Walker just chain wrestles Mayes and presses him against the cage and takes him down and kind of holds him for 3 rounds. Don't be shocked by that. Walker should win. Next fight on the card, we got Vince Morales versus Elijah Smith. So I've been picking Vince Morales as a gritty underdog throughout the week. Elijah Smith is extremely talented and seems to be a great athlete, but ultimately he is completely unproven at a high level. That's why I went with Vince Morales, really. The Aaron Tal fight was a good 3-round back and forth. He beat an 8-0 prospect that's undersized for this division. At 135, being 5'4" is pretty damn short. I feel like Aaron Tal is more of a flyweight that's a little bulky. And then, you know, wins against okay prospects here, but not there, 1 and 2. 2-1, 5-0. Like, he's got some W's, but against prospects, he's only beaten prospects. Vince Morales is a gritty OG vet with a good submission threat. 5 wins by submission. Now, he went on a nice win streak, 5 fights in a row outside of the UFC, beating ex-UFC fighter Teruto Ishihara. Matoya is not bad over in Ryzen, getting the win over Hunter Azure, who at one point won fights in the UFC. And he's a former Ultimate Fighter contestant, too. I have to respect the ground skills. And when you really look at the losses, like Vince Morales' L's are Taylor Lapalus, Miles Johns, Jonathan Martinez, as of recent, Chris Gutierrez. Like, then if you dig years back, okay, Benito Lopez loss is bad. Fought Song Yadong. Like, he's been in there with a ton of guys that are capable. This is going to be his 10th UFC fight. And I know his record is terrible at 3-6. I know it's bad. I recognize that. I do. But, to be fair, 3 wins, 6 losses. He's got a 1-3 win rate, bro. 1/3 of his UFC fights, he's gotten some wins. I really feel like he could win against Elijah Smith, though. I don't know how Elijah's going to look into deep waters. I don't know how he's going to fare with Vince Morales' sub threats. One thing you have to say about Vince Morales is he's tough, because he's gone long against high-level competition. He's gotten his legs chopped apart before. Yes, that's happened to him with Gutierrez. But at the end of the day, he's a gritty OG that's been around for a long time, and he fights talented guys, and he survives at the least. He's a dog fighter. We don't know Elijah Smith's level. Elijah Smith is 22. He's a kid. Vince Morales has been doing this a long time, and say what you want about him, he's in his prime right now at 34. This should be the best version of Vince Morales ever versus a very young prospect in Elijah Smith. I'm going to go with veteran experience here. I'm going to go with the OG. We've seen these Contender Series guys fraud. I picked Rongju last week. I feel like that's a similar circumstance. Now, Rongju is young, Morales a little older, but experience is very important here. And you see a lot more fight experience for Morales. What? His 25th pro fight is this one here versus the 8th for Elijah or 9th for Elijah Smith. Not even 10 fights. I'm going with Vince Morales to pull through. I think he's going to surprise people in this fight. Potentially a late submission, and he beats Elijah Smith, who's a talented prospect, but I emphasize prospect, and I think that Morales is live. Let's look at the scales, and let's see how these guys are looking. Vince Morales looking absolutely psychotic with the new hairstyle, but he's in very good physical condition. He's durable. He's a gritty fighter. Look at that broken nose. Bro, Vince Morales is a fucking tough journeyman. Not to be overlooked. He's fighting a debuting guy. His last fight, he took on Taylor Lapalus, who is one of the most talented unranked strikers in the bantamweight division. Elijah Smith, he looks in good shape. He looks like a great athlete. He's shredded out. But he's a young prospect. Look at that face. No marks on it. Maybe a little scrap on his chin there. I'm telling you, man, when you take on a fucking gritty OG, things can change, man. I'm telling you. You don't know how Elijah Smith responds in round 3 when he gets hit by a club and shot or when Vince Morales takes him down. He could gas. He could start panic shooting takedowns. I really think Vince Morales is live to pull through by submission. We don't know enough about Elijah Smith. He doesn't have some crazy size advantage here. He's the younger and more unproven guy versus a tough veteran. I'm going with the veteran. I'm going with Vince Morales. And Morales is still 5-1 in his last 6 fights. To have him now as a dog here, plus 121, it's not a fucking wide tag. It was wider. It was plus 205 at one point when it peaked up. That was earlier in the week. And now a lot of people are seeing it. There's a lot of action seeming to be coming in on Morales because Elijah Smith minus 141. If Smith is that good, he can win. But he's a risky bet. A debuting guy, risky bet against a gritty OG like Vince Morales. I'm going to say Morales is live to win as an underdog. I like his chances. I'm going to pick him. Over 2.5, minus 285. Could end up happening, but there's a real chance that Vince Morales' surprise submission comes through around plus 500 for that. Be a later stage sub, but I could see him locking something up. He does offer threats from the front headlock. I could see Elijah Smith shooting, getting caught in something. Too young, too inexperienced. I'm going to go with Vince Morales as an underdog. Next fight, Gabriel Bonfim versus Khaos Williams. I really love this matchup. I really love this fight. I think this fight is really fun. I'm going with Bonfim to win. Khaos Williams is a good power striker. He's got looping shots, though. Doesn't work a nice jab, doesn't have a good straight punch. He is a looping puncher that brings crazy pressure forward. But at the end of the day, I ultimately feel as though Khaos is not crafty enough on the feet to find the counter opportunities. The only way he wins is like blitzing Bonfim and forcing a knockout. Bonfim's got pretty good punches right down the center, which I favor over looping shots that Khaos Williams throws. On top of that, Bonfim has good kicking skills and a very competent jiu-jitsu game with a ton of wins by submission. Khaos Williams has not fought anybody that is good on the ground. You can say, oh, well, Alex Morono, like, come on, really? He's a striker, okay? Bonfim is a dangerous threat on the floor, and I think he is very live to submit Khaos Williams. Mixing in takedowns will even open up opportunities in the striking department. So ultimately, I expect a high IQ game. We saw Bonfim a little patient against Angelusa going to 3 rounds last time. Angelusa, a completely different style than Khaos. Angelusa is that pressure wrestling in your face style. Williams is the knockout puncher, but he can be outpaced. He didn't look great against Bedoya 2 fights ago. That was a bad look. And then the Carlston Harris fight, he looked sensational, and he knocked him out in 1 punch. I'm going to say Bonfim's still a good prospect. I don't think you can write him off because of the Dalby loss. He was doing very good early in the fight, and I think that Bonfim is live to beat a Khaos Williams here too. So I'm going with Gabriel Bonfim to get it done and beat Khaos. There's Khaos Williams with the intense glare, and then there's Bonfim. Bonfim is just more well-rounded. A little bit taller, but the reach favors Khaos, but he doesn't use reach well. Khaos Williams is not a 77-inch reach fighter that has a stiff jab. If he did, it's a different conversation. Khaos is looking to take your fucking head off and violently chin you. I think that Bonfim can survive that onslaught, even potentially land counter takedowns there. And I'm going to say Bonfim beats a Khaos. So we're going with Gabriel Bonfim to beat Khaos Williams. He's a bit of a favorite at -200 with Khaos at +170. I'm not shocked by the odds here, though, especially with Bonfim's hype as a prospect. Over 1.5 could happen at -172. It's not a crazy call. Bonfim to win via submission +200, around +225, and then a Bonfim decision +225. I'm going to say Bonfim by sub, but he could win a decision. Don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. Don't be shocked if he lands some takedowns, if it's a little slower paced. I think Khaos is going to look to throw hard, but at times I feel like as hard as he hits, he doesn't have a lot of power. Like, yes, he violently chinned Carlston Harris. I understand. Yes, he violently dusted Carlston Harris. I called that. The way he knocks out Carlston Harris is fucking horrible. Carlston Harris is slapping his punches. He leaves openings, and he's older. He's slower. Bonfim is 27, absolutely starting to peak right now, getting better and better each and every fight. You have to go Bonfim. With the high-level jiu-jitsu, with quick striking and good pressure, he should submit Khaos Williams or beat him on the judges' scorecards. I'm going with Bonfim for the W, man. I think he's taking out Khaos. Next fight on the card, we have Rafael Estevam versus Jesus Aguilar. So I've been picking Estevam throughout the week, but ultimately the big gripe I have on this call is the odds are terrible, and Estevam has not fought in a year and 2 months, but you look at that win. I mean, beating Charles Johnson is impressive. He did lose the 3rd round, but he won dominantly with grappling in the first 2. I think he's a very crafty grappler. Now, he takes on Jesus Aguilar, who's absolutely on fire right now. He's on a 3-fight win streak, but he's beaten cans. He knocked out Shannon Ross. Close fight with Mateus Mendoza, and honestly, I thought he could have lost the decision, who's shit. And then he beat Stuart Nickel after giving up his back and getting controlled early. At the end of the day, Estevam is going to out-grapple Jesus Aguilar. Estevam is better at the grappling than Mateus Mendoza, who actually was able to take Aguilar down. On top of that, Estevam has a good size advantage here, a lot taller, a lot longer. I think he wins grappling exchanges. I think Aguilar's tough in the fight, and Estevam has to, maybe dig deep in a couple of moments, and maybe Aguilar does well in round 3, but ultimately I see the first 2 rounds as Estevam's, and I feel as though he's going to end up getting the win here, man. Now, to be fair, concern is that, both these guys miss weight for their last fights. I have more of a worry on Estevam because he was 128 last fight against Charles Johnson. Then he got tired in the 3rd round. So we'll see what he can do here. He's 12-0. I'll tell you this. He's 12-0, but I'm not sold on this guy as like the next big thing or anything like that. But he is pretty quality, I would say, with good pressure grappling. Aguilar's got more of the chaos factor to him, but Estevam should be able to win the grappling battles. There's Jesus Aguilar. I mean, bro, he absolutely reps Mexico like a savage. He's even got a fucking missing tooth. What a gangster. Jesus Aguilar feels like the real life Nacho Libre if he was in the UFC. And then there's Estevam, 12-0, all the hype on him. To be honest, though, he doesn't have the aura of a guy at the highest level. I mean, the win over Johnson's impressive, but you see what I'm saying? He looks a little nerdy. But listen, we're not going to judge him through the scales. He's got jiu-jitsu tatted on him. Big size advantage for Estevam. If Estevam's in decent shape, he should at least rack up the first 2 rounds. I'll say Estevam beats Aguilar. I think he uses his grappling, lands takedowns, gets on top, man. Estevam, I don't think he's that, excuse me, I think Aguilar's not that good. Estevam's not that great either, but Aguilar's more of a gritty journeyman. He likes to bang. He hits with a bit of power. He's fun to watch, but I think Estevam has more skills and a size advantage. So Estevam for the W. He's a minus 460 favorite. The line is terrible. Plus 360 for Aguilar. He's a big dog. Nah. I know people like that Aguilar sub side, plus 800. They're saying he's going to catch him in a gilly, but I don't know. Estevam decision, plus 160. It's like, I don't really feel like betting Estevam or anything like that, but I'm still picking him to win, and he probably wins the decision. He out-grapples Aguilar, lands some takedowns, takes it 29-28, judges scorecards, something like that. That makes the most sense if you ask me. Any other interesting bets here? Is there anything calling the name? We got Aguilar, most significant strikes. Estevam, I wouldn't fucking throw down that. I just like seeing what these props are. Maybe. Maybe there at plus 125. Maybe. A strong maybe, though. Maybe. Because I can see Aguilar win a round. And then if he loses 29-28, yeah, I can see the 5.5. I can see the spread. Maybe. Plus 125. It's just, you want to bet Aguilar plus 360. You don't want to touch plus 125. I think Aguilar is tough in the fight. And like I said, I think he can win a round, but I don't think he wins. I'm thinking Estevam judges scorecards, gets it done. I'm picking Estevam to pull through. We're riding with him. He is more talented. He should beat Jesus Aguilar. All right, let's keep running. Next fight. Ladies going after it. We got Angela Hill versus Ketlen Souza. I'm excited for this matchup. My pick has been Angela Hill all week. I do not understand why you guys pick against Angie. Like, okay, Tabitha Ricci beats her, but she struggled, okay? And Tabitha Ricci is way more proven than Ketlen Souza is. Before that, she beat Luana Pinheiro, who had some hype at one point. She subbed her. Beat Denise Gomes, who also knocked out Yasmin Haragi and had a lot of hype. Very similar style to Souza, to be fair. Mackenzie Dern lost. Dern is higher level. And then Emily Ducote win. At that point, Emily Ducote was 1-0 in the UFC and had some hype building. I know now she's not in the promotion, but at that time, she had some hype. Bro, Angela Hill, she'll win a decision. It's going to be a competitive fight. She'll win some of the exchanges, so she'll lose some of them. She probably lands a tad bit more. Souza's got good boxing on the inside. She's definitely a tough girl. Angela Hill got a good striking output, and she's pretty quick and light on her feet. Grappling, I don't see either one really having like dominance in the grappling area. I think it's a lot of striking combinations. Say Souza does have the power, but I don't know about the accuracy. And her power is a little bit overrated. Like, I think Haragi's a little chinny, to be fair. And then Marnik Man went distance. I know Ketlen landed some big shots, but I don't know, man. I'm not sold. I'm not sold on Ketlen Souza. I think people just are sold on her because she's like, you know, butchy Brazilian girl that looks kind of like Jessica Andrade. So it's like, yo, that's it. Denise Gomes, very similar, and Angela Hill handled her. So I'm going to say Angela Hill decision. But she is 40, so I get why people are worried. I get it. Fair point. There's Ketlen Souza on the scale. I don't know. She looks okay. Not great. A little thick. Seems like she could make 105. She could be an atom weight, it looks like. Angela Hill looks like her typical self. Pretty good shape for Angela. She looks ready to rock. And then there's the face-off between the two. Chill face-off. I feel like I'm looking at a fucking Jessica Andrade, Denise Gomes fucking blend here. Angela Hill, decision. The usual. That's what I'm calling. 29-28. She'll get it on the scorecards. As far as the odds for the fight, Angela Hill's an ever so slight underdog at minus 103. Really close money. And I cancel it out, of course. Really close money for Angela. Minus 117 for Ketlen Souza. Hill by decision, plus 120. Angela Hill should win a decision. Angela Hill should get it on the scorecards. She should beat this little knockoff Jessica Andrade. I'll take her on the cards, man. I think so. You think so. We all think so. It's going to be 29-28. It's going to be competitive, man. It's going to be close. Split decision, probably. 29-28. Angela Hill, little more accuracy, little bit cleaner shots. She gets it on the cards. Let's jump to the next fight. We got the featured prelim. Jose Delgado versus Connor Matthews. Listen, I've been absolutely riding a high picking Jose Delgado. If he loses to Connor Matthews, that's going to be a depressing night because he's an MMA lab striker who's super dangerous in all ranges. That's what I like about him, really, is he's dangerous from the outside, from the inside, and the mid-range. He can box in close and rip big combinations, or he can snipe you with kicks and punches from distance. I think he's very slick, and I think he's a guy you got to keep an eye on with the snapping strikes and the accuracy that he has. He's a fun prospect at 145. He's very young, 28. No, not even, 26, excuse me. He's taking on a 32-year-old Connor Matthews, who's okay. Guy's 32 years old, so he's, 6 years older with the same amount of pro experience. Connor Matthews coming off the loss to Dennis Bazooka. He ended up getting knocked out in that fight. If you look at Connor Matthews' game, he really likes the stance switches, like a lot. Orthodox, southpaw, but there's a lacking of head movement. That's what I hate about his style. He doesn't really work head movement much at all. He's kind of a stationary target, but he switches his stances. Whereas I think like with Delgado, he'll be too crafty on the feet. I feel as though he's on a close distance and land some big shots. I feel like Delgado with his clean kickboxing is super live for a win. And he also likes to brawl. I think he can bait Matthews into a brawl. I'm seeing a violent knockout. I think Delgado is going to chin Matthews. I could see him catching him with a punch over the top and just flatlining him in close range, getting Matthews into a brawl and then just ripping him because I think Matthews, he gets hit clean on the chin by Delgado. He's not staying conscious. So we're going with Delgado to win. He'll sleep Matthews in this one. I think violent knockout. Matthews looked decent on the scale. It looks like a Massachusetts guy. He's fighting in the New England cartel as well. He is going to need to look to wrestle here, but I think Delgado's grappling defensive abilities and even his offense is not bad. Should be fine. There's Delgado on the scale. I mean, it looks decent, in shape. That's it. On point, little range here. I feel like Delgado can pull through, man. I'm going to say Delgado wins. Delgado with some damaging strikes ends up knocking out Connor Matthews in relatively violent fashion. That is going to be my official prediction for this fight. Violent fashion. KO win. Delgado for the W. It must be. Minus 425 for Delgado, who's become a pretty fat favorite at this point. Around plus 300 range here for Connor Matthews. Over is minus 180. I mean, it could end sooner, but I could see the brawl lasting a little longer. I think it probably ends inside of the distance at minus 180. I like that. The fight ends inside distance, minus 180 as opposed to over 1.5. And then looking towards the side, Delgado KO plus 180. It makes a lot of sense to me that Delgado is going to starch Connor Matthews. He's going to bait him into a brawl and absolutely sleep him. His striking is too elusive and powerful. Connor Matthews, ultimately, his striking is relatively stiff. Say he's too average, and I think he's going to get knocked out. Delgado's a good prospect. Both guys got wins on Contender Series. For Matthews, it was a win against Jair Farias. You don't know if you guys remember that fight, but Farias sucks. He's so overrated. One of those overrated Brazilian guys that had no grappling defense. Delgado is not that. He did also lose to Francis Marshall, but he's a tough guy. I mean, Connor Matthews, he's tough. I just think Delgado is way too dangerous in striking. Seeing Bazooka put him out. I think Delgado is putting out Matthews as well. So we're going Jose Delgado, clean KO. Next fight, it brings us to our main card opener. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you all smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe it up. So we got Rodolfo Vieira versus Andre Petroski. I've been picking Andre Petroski throughout the week, but I've been telling you guys, I want to make sure he's in shape. I want to make sure he looks good because he came in on a tad bit of short notice, okay? Let me shout out the Diet Coke. I need a sip. A tad bit of short notice. A good amount of short notice. So when a guy comes in on short notice, you got to worry a bit. But the scale told me he's in shape. As far as the stylistic matchup, Rodolfo Vieira is not a good striker. Rodolfo Vieira is not a good striker. Okay, he's got good BJJ, really good BJJ. But he's not great on the feet. Average. Petroski competes in jiu-jitsu, and as long as his gas tank doesn't wilt, I think his stand-up game is going to be highly effective in this fight because he is the better striker. He's got nasty left body kicks from southpaw, but I will say he might be a little conservative with them because Viera is going to be looking to take him to the ground. Petroski's very physically strong. Ultimately, though, I will tell you guys this. Ultimately, big factor in this matchup here. Gas tank of Petroski. Viera could be live to submit him in round number 3, but Petroski could be live to outstrike him for a decision. Or as crazy as it sounds, because Petroski doesn't finish anybody, I could see him catching Rodolfo Vieira. Rodolfo Vieira is not a good striker, and I think that Petroski does have a bit of pop in his hands. If you imagine these two in a kickboxing match, you'd have to pick Petroski. I don't like Vieira's game on the feet. Now, he is relatively durable, but he got dropped bad against Cody Brundage, so I question his chin for sure. I'll say Petroski's live to pull through. I'm going to pick him for the W. Let's look at the scales here. So we got blonde Petroski. To be honest, bro, Petroski looks fucking insane on the scale. I don't know how he's on short notice. What the fuck? That's a short notice physique? This dude's a fucking monsoon. Straight out of Philly, they just won the Super Bowl. He's riding high, bro. He's got the blonde hair. Blonde Petroski, Super Bowl win. I don't see him losing to Rodolfo Vieira. Then there's Rodolfo Vieira. He looks like, he looks like most people's Brazilian jiu-jitsu instructors, to be honest with you, bro. But he's very fucking jacked. He's in shape. Easily looks like he could be 50, but somehow is not. I think he's going to get outworked by Petroski, man. There's the face-off. Blonde-haired Petroski. More of the fighter than him. Come on, dude. It's Petroski time. Look at that tattoo. Look at this tat. Holy shit, Petroski's a fucking madman. I'm going Andre Petroski. I think that he wins against Rodolfo Vieira. I think, it could be a hard-fought decision. He could be fatigued late, but I could see him catching Rodolfo. Rodolfo's not a great striker. Rodolfo's a minus 260 favorite. That doesn't make any sense to me. The odds are complete lunacy for this. He should be close to even. Minus 150 they want to give him? Minus 260. What was that open? Minus 150 makes sense. All right, that was the opening line. I agree with the opening line. Petroski plus 220. Like, it's fair to say Petroski is a dog, but my God, over 2-1? Over 2-1? Plus 220 for Petroski? What the fuck? Over 1.5 minus 200. Listen, if you want to dog bet Petroski at plus 220, the value is definitely there. They could be baiting us in, and maybe he completely gasses in round 3 and gets submitted. Hey, you want to hedge yourself? Maybe you're going Rodolfo Vieira to win via 3rd round submission, like a menace to society at plus 1,000. If Petroski gasses in the 3rd round, Viera could be live to submit him in that final round. That's what I'll say about this fight. But I think Petroski's definitely got 2 hard rounds in him for sure. Maybe has 3 as well. But if he does gas, it could be in that 3rd. But I'm going to say Andre Petroski beats Rodolfo Vieira. He's a physically strong guy who also competes in jiu-jitsu, and he's got better striking. He should beat Rodolfo. We're going Petroski. Next fight on the main card, we got Ismael Bonfim versus Nazim Sadykhov. I have been picking Nazim Sadykhov, and I called him the savage dog lock of the week for UFC Vegas 102. I had to bring the thunder, and I had a good feeling about this matchup, man. I like the way Sadykhov throws his punches. I think he's got pretty good combinations in close range. He's actually slick and elusive, too. He's very fluid on the feet. Fit guy as well, not young, but 30, so primed up-and-comer, I would say. And I feel like Bonfim is just fucking overrated as hell, man. Bonfim got broken by Benoit Saint-Denis, and I get it. It was the BSD that had hype a year and 7 months ago. He literally gave him the submission. Nazim Sadykhov trains with the likes of Aljo, okay? I think Nazim Sadykhov has a grappling advantage that he could exploit in this fight. Bonfim has been submitted 4 times, and I just question his will to win when things get tough. He's good at cruising to wins, or he's good at highlight reel knockouts. But in a dogfight, I'll pick Nazim Sadykhov to pull through. And I see it as a competitive matchup skill-wise. Nazim Sadykhov can strike well. Say what you want about the draw to Slava. He did immense damage in that fight, too. Also, southpaw. Going to be interested to see how Bonfim deals with that. I think it's going to be a fun fight. And I think Sadykhov is going to outwork him. I think he can land some clean lefts. I think he can mix shots up over the top, make it a brawl, potentially time some takedowns, put Bonfim on his back. I think Nazim Sadykhov pulls off the upset win in this fight. I'm going with him as an underdog. I think he's better than the odds have him, especially. This is not a minus 230 fight. I don't think Bonfim and him should be any bit split. This is 50-50 type fight. And I think Nazim Sadykhov's got more will to win than Bonfim, and he's probably a little better on the ground and also a little bit better in close range with striking. Bonfim is good at picking his shots and fighting at a controlled pace. He does not thrive in a dogfight, whereas I believe Nazim Sadykhov definitely does thrive in a dogfight. So Nazim Sadykhov as an underdog is the pick in this one. I think he's got the dog in him. I think he does. This is a guy who's going to fight for your money, man. He's got the dog in him. Looks shredded in fantastic shape here. Bonfim looks pretty good as well. Bonfim looks goofy. He looks like a little lemur. There's the face-off. Sadykhov a little taller. I think Sadykhov's got his number. It's going to be a brawl. It's going to be a dogfight. Sadykhov's not going to back down from the fight. And I think he can outwork Bonfim. A D-gen play would be Sadykhov by submission, but I think the money line is fabulous. Plus 195 for Nazim Sadykhov. He's a really big dog. Really big dog. That's so interesting. At open, plus 250. Bonfim has got so much hype, but that Pichel fight completely deflated the hype tires for me, at least. Sadykhov decision, plus 400. Sadykhov by submission plus 800. Wow, that would be D-Gen AF. That would be D-Gen AF. Little point spread action, minus 135. Interesting. Interesting. I don't know why the other fight at 5.5. That's funny looking back. But yeah, I think Sadykhov pulls through as an underdog. It's going to be a good fight. He's gonna make a good account for himself. And I think he can beat Bonfim. So Nazim Sadykhov to win. I think he makes this difficult for Bonfim. I definitely think it's a more competitive fight than the odds are giving it credit. Guess you could go that spread zone if you are too fearful of playing Sadykhov as a dog. Not as good odds, though. You're laying a little chalk down, minus 135. I'm going Sadykhov. Sadykhov to outdog Ismael Bonfim because I think Bonfim's overrated. Sadykhov's tough, trains with good competition, and a guy to enjoy watching. So Sadykhov for the dub. Let's go. Nazim Sadykhov to outwork him. I like that call a lot. Next fight on the card, we have Edmen Shahbazyan versus Dylan Budka. I've been picking Edmen Shahbazyan all week long. I've been going with the Shahbaz, man. I've been going with the Shahbaz. He's a risky guy because he gasses out. He loses his mind in fights. But he's fighting the mindless Hulk. I don't think Budka has a great fight IQ. He's not great with his hands. He's got pressure wrestling, but that's about it, man. He's just a lacking skill set that he just doesn't have much. He wrestles a little, but just wrestling means fuck all at this point. He's got to be able to land some punches. He's going to be, I don't know, he's going to be caught in a striking fight with a guy who's real clean on the feet. Good kickboxing skills, KO power for sure. Nice snapping shots, good combos. Grappling is not as bad as we think. He's just fumbled the bag in fights. Budka, I mean, like he's a tough wrestler with mid-boxing. He just closes the gap and looks to smother you. His fight against Chad Honeycomb, his win was terrible. Then these two losses in a row, and now he takes on Shahbazyan. Listen, he's been trading wins and losses. It's time for Shahbazyan to get a win. I think he's live to TKO Budka. He could catch him with some big shots. If it goes decision, I think that'd be a letdown for Budka, or excuse me, for Shahbazyan. I think he's hoping that he lays Budka out. It'd be way better for his career if he could lay Budka out because Shahbazyan's hype has fucking dwindled substantially. I remember when he knocked out Brad Tavares. The fight before that, Tavares had went 5 rounds without Adesanya. Shahbazyan handled him in 2 minutes, and he was the golden boy. He was a golden prospect. Now, holy shit. He's fighting Dylan Budka, and people are fucking picking Budka as the underdog. How far have we fallen from grace? He's fighting a guy who's 0-2 in the UFC. Shahbazyan should absolutely handle business. Let's check out the scales. Let's check out the scales. Budka looks like a fucking American psychopath here on the scale. Straight flexing like a crazy guy. Respect to him. Edmen Shahbazyan looks hyper-focused. Looks like his usual self. There's the face-off. He's a little taller. You know, I think Budka is a tough customer, but outside of toughness, he doesn't have a lot of the technical abilities that I think are needed to thrive in the UFC, especially against a tactician like this, man. Edmund Shahbazyan is not an easy fight for him. This is not even a step down in competition in all actuality, looking at his past 2 UFC fights. I think we're going to see Edmund Shahbazyan pull through, land some nasty kicks, land some clean punches, be calculated and patient, because ultimately he knows, the way he's fumbled against GM3 is blowing his wad looking for ground and pound. But at the end of the day, Budka does not offer a submission threat near that caliber of GM3 that has me fearful like that. Budka needs to normally smother you and win a decision. So at worst, maybe Shahbazyan wins the first 2 rounds and gets controlled in the third. I think he's going to be all right. We're going Edmund Shahbazyan. He should beat Dylan Budka. He has to. Edmund Shahbazyan is minus 400 as the favorite. Dylan Budka is plus 300 as the underdog. I'm going Shahbazyan to win. Let's see here. Over 1.5, minus 170. Okay. Shahbazyan by TKO, plus 130. Okay. Shahbazyan decision upwards at plus 300. I favor the side of Shahbazyan to win the fight by TKO. I think he's got to put it together and get a finish. When he's on point, he's an accurate sniper with big power, and he's also got dangerous kicks. He should chin Budka. So we're going Edmund Shahbazyan via violence. He's fucking beating Budka. Stop the shit. Stop the shit. Edmund Shahbazyan. He's also 27. If he loses, I'm telling you this straight. I'm telling you this right now, chat. If Edmund Shahbazyan loses this fight, he should retire from MMA. Dead serious. He should retire. Next fight on the card, co-main event. We got Calvin Kattar versus Youssef Zalal. My pick has been Youssef Zalal all week. He's absolutely surging right now. Burst back onto the scene, strangling Billy Q, then destroying Jarno Aarons, and then beating up Jack Shore and forcing him to retire from MMA. Youssef Zalal is a hyper-talented prospect, and you saw glimpses of it in his first UFC run. He fought Ilia Topuria. You know what's crazy? When he fought Ilia Topuria years ago, Topuria came in on short notice, I picked Youssef Zalal. So I saw the potential then. Of course, Topuria has gone on to become a champion and, already beaten 2 of the best ever at featherweight. But ultimately, Youssef Zalal has always shown promise in his UFC fights. I think he's a hyper-talented prospect and somebody to watch in 2025. He's 28 years old, and it's definitely his time now. The thing is, Calvin Kattar is a fucking certified gangster, though. Calvin Kattar's tough. I've been picking Zalal. I'm not swaying from the pick, but Calvin Kattar is a good boxer, can absolutely scrap with high-level fighters, but he's fallen from grace. 1-4 over his last 5. That win was the fraud check of Giga Chikadze, but that was years ago now. 3 years ago was that win over Giga Chikadze. He got absolutely dominated by Aljamain Sterling last time out. I thought he looked rough in that fight. Didn't really seem to have his offense. Youssef Zalal is a very clean striker, and I think he could technically strike with Kattar well, but he also has this menacing grappling threat. With the factor of having grappling threat and striking, I think he's very live to win a decision here against Kattar. It'd be awesome if he submits him. Not saying it's impossible, but ultimately, Calvin Kattar is, a gritty OG, and if he's still got some fight left in him, I could see him at least making it difficult for Zalal and him going long, but it should be Zalal all day. All day. He has to be a confident prediction. There's Youssef Zalal looking pretty good on the scale, leaned up, in shape. Calvin Kattar, he's still in shape. Say what you want, but he got a bad knee injury against Arnold Allen. I don't know how these training camps are going. I don't know where he's at. He's a little taller. Youssef Zalal is fighting a level up now. This is a big level jump for Youssef Zalal. To take on a guy like Calvin Kattar is no joke. But I think he can win. I do. They're giving him a big opportunity. He's called for these big opportunities. Minus 525. The odds are crazy, though. The betting line is insane. Youssef Zalal is at minus 525. I agree with the opening odds, minus 225. Kattar at plus 400 as an absolutely massive underdog. It's like downright disrespectful how wide these odds have gotten, man. Holy shit. If it goes over 2.5, it's minus 220. If Zalal wins via decision, it's minus 135. And if he does lock up a sub, you only get plus 275. So there's really not a ton of great money to be made as far as betting on Youssef Zalal. But ultimately, I tell it how it is. This is the predictions where I'm breaking it down in depth. He is quicker at this point than Calvin Kattar. He's better with his legs. I think he's a little cleaner from the outside, though Kattar can box well in close range. Granted, Max Holloway made him look very mediocre, but Max Holloway is an all-time great, so a little different. Grappling skill set of Kattar, never been one of his best areas, but he does have a wrestling background, more of a defensive grappler. Zalal has much better grappling offense and brings legit submission threats. Way more ways to win. Way more weapons, really, is the way I'd put it. Youssef Zalal should absolutely beat Calvin Kattar. It's more about how does he get it done. A submission would do massive things for his career, but a win over Kattar in general is massive for his resume, and I think he pulls through pretty clean. I know the odds suck, and they have you think, oh, well, you know, whatever on this fight. No, this is Youssef Zalal's biggest fight of his life. Don't let the odds fool you into thinking this isn't a massive step in competition, okay? From jumping against Jack Shore to Calvin Kattar is a huge step. From Billy Q to Calvin Kattar, huge step. From Jarno Aarons to Calvin Kattar, massive step. You understand me? Those last 3 wins are good, but not near the level of Calvin Kattar. So regardless of the lines, Zalal winning is very impressive. Don't let the betting odds throw you off from how impressive this win can be if Zalal pulls through. This is a massive one. He'll break into the top 10, top 12 at least. Pick his Youssef Zalal. He'll beat Calvin Kattar. Passing the torch fight. Main event of the evening. You could call it another passing the torch fight. We got Jared Cannonier versus Gregory Rodrigues. And if you guys are enjoying, make sure you smash the likes. And if you're new, subscribe. My pick has been Gregory RoboCop Rodrigues all week. To be honest, the picture alone, he looks absolutely fucking terrifying in. RoboCop has a pressure boxing-based style and rips big combinations in close range with legit knockout power. Cannonier's been getting caught in weird spots in close range recently. He got rocked against Barrio, also got finished against Imavov. I don't think Cannonier has the same reflexes he once did, nor do I think he has the same chin. At the end of the day, you can say, oh, well, he went 5 rounds with Kyle Barrio. Barrio shot 1 takedown, and it was in round 5. He wanted to showcase his stand-up in that fight, and he out-kickboxed Jared Cannonier. Ultimately, Gregory Rodrigues, with pressure-based boxing, can land big shots, but I wouldn't be shocked if he looks to mix in some takedowns, and those could potentially help open up shots on the feet too. Normally, Cannonier has very good hips because he's a natural athlete and very explosive. His takedown defense tends to hold up well. Could see him getting dragged to the ground here with Gregory Rodrigues. He should be pound for pound, like muscle for muscle, the weaker guy between the two. RoboCop definitely has more punching power. The worry with RoboCop has always been his chin. We've seen him violently knocked out a couple of times on Contender Series years ago, and then we saw him against Bruno Ferreira 4 fights ago get caught. Ultimately, 3-fight win streak for Gregory Rodrigues. Good pressure-based boxing style. The younger guy at 32, nearly 33. Really, it's about to be his birthday. I think RoboCop can pull through. I think RoboCop can rip Cannonier with a big shot, rock him, and then maybe even club and sub him. I think he could knock him out. I think Cannonier is too small for him. I think Cannonier is aging. He's still in great physical condition. You'll see when we bring up the scales. Cannonier looks damn good. There's RoboCop. He was the first guy to weigh in. He's a hungry up-and-comer. But holy shit, dude. Cannonier looks more shredded and jacked than I've ever seen before. And he's always shredded and jacked. Cannonier is the definition of fucking fantastic shape. But look at the size difference. RoboCop looks like a fucking light heavyweight. Cannonier looks like a middleweight. RoboCop, bigger, stronger. Cannonier, former heavyweight, which is crazy, right? That he looks like a good amount smaller than his middleweight counterpart here in RoboCop. Even he puts his hand up. He's like, damn, this guy got some size on me. Dude, RoboCop's thicker. RoboCop's bigger. RoboCop's most likely stronger. I think RoboCop is going to absolutely shine and thrive in this fight. Now, I respect Cannonier coming in shape, and maybe he can shock a lot of people at nearly 41 and turn back the clock and beat a terrifying up-and-coming contender. But I just think RoboCop is too prime. This is the best version of him ever. I really feel like he's come into his own over these past 3 fights, and I think he's beaten Jared Cannonier, man. RoboCop's on fire right now. I think he wins. And Cannonier, the way he throws his punches, more the looping hooks, not necessarily the easiest to land on RoboCop's like power-based boxing style. If Cannonier had more of a sniper straight down the center, I think he'd be more live for a counter shot KO as opposed to the looping stuff. Like, sure, could he land a looping punch and put RoboCop out? We've seen RoboCop chin before. Yes, it could happen, but ultimately RoboCop also hits like a fucking Mack truck, and if he lands on Cannonier's chin, I don't think Cannonier's staying upright. Minus 230 for RoboCop, plus 190 for Cannonier. Big underdog is Cannonier. Oh, how times have changed. Under 4.5, minus 250. I do think this fight probably ends inside of the distance. If it goes distance, that'd be pretty wild. 5 rounds between these two. Rodrigues inside distance around minus 130. It was much better at minus 115. That's what I liked earlier in the week. The KO is plus 135. The sub for Rodrigues plus 550. The truth is, though he has good jiu-jitsu, he's definitely more of a knockout-based fighter. He likes ground and pound too, and he's got nasty ground and pound. RoboCop should handle Jared Cannonier, man. I think so. Anything else catching my eye here? I don't think so. Not planning on any degeneracy here. Oh my God, you can pick wins by KO elbow as a method of victory. Doctor stoppage. Rodrigues by elbow. What's that line? Now I'm fucking curious. Plus 1,600. Rodrigues elbow KOs him with a kick, with a knee. I like how they're doing that, man. They're giving you more options for like how he wins by KO. That's straight degen shit. That's absolute degeneracy. Rodrigues more significant strikes, minus 165. Wow. These days they're offering a ton of fucking props, man. All different shit. Rodrigues wins by KO, TKO, minus 175. Rodrigues wins by KO submission, minus 135. Same as inside distance. Thought maybe we get a different line. Not interested really in the spread too much, man, but maybe. I like inside distance. Even Rodrigues scorecards, no action is minus 260. It's worse than the money line. What the fuck? Yeah. I'm going to say RoboCop wins. Or no, it's not worse. Yeah, it is worse. Yeah, it is. Minus 230 money line. I think RoboCop wins. I think RoboCop probably gets a finish. I think he punches Jared Cannonier really hard, maybe even elbows him. RoboCop gets a bad rep on his chin, but he's also extremely tough. Remember that cut that he endured against Chidi Njokwani, and he kept fighting through that? This is Gregory Rodrigues' time, man. I think he's coming into his own. Like, yeah, he had a rough loss 2 years ago, but he's been on fire in those past 2 years. We've seen improvements. I think that he's really making his run now, and this is the best version of RoboCop ever versus probably the worst version of Jared Cannonier we've seen at middleweight. An aging Cannonier who's falling from grace and falling out of his prime. This has got to be the side of Gregory Rodrigues to win, so I'm picking him. We're riding RoboCop for the dub in the main event. Those are the predictions for UFC Vegas 102, but we're not done just yet. We're not done just yet. Let's look at the parlays. Do they still hold up after the weigh-ins? What do I think? Let me see. Is anything changing? I like them. I mean, listen, I've said this all week. The Sadykhov ones are including, extra value. If you do not like Sadykhov, you can remove him. Remove all the underdogs from these degenerate style parlays, and you still get okay lines for relatively high confidence calls. It's not a terrible game plan to do such a thing. Now, to make a little alternate action off the fly, Valter Walker was a guy that showed up in fantastic shape. He's sitting at minus 250. He should win. I think Cavalcanti should win. That play right there, just for those two, is minus 162. The odds suck for it, but ultimately the confidence is relatively high for me that that's going to end up coming to fruition between the Savages throwing down. Should also be Youssef Zalal's time. 3 chalky favorites, minus 103. This is a little extra. Shahbazyan should win. It's plus 149. I hate having a 4-fighter play that's absolute shit odds like that, but it is high confidence, man. I mean, it should come to fruition. It really should. Rodrigues in the main, if you had him with Walker and Cavalcanti plus 133 and you had Zalal plus 185, you're not going to get a ton of bang for your buck unless you add in the dogs in your lineup. Are you feeling Savage Mode USA in this hoe? Is that what you want to do? Bonfim, Walker, Cavalcanti, plus 139. It's definitely good parlays you can make. You don't have to do exactly what on screen, but these are the suggestions of ideas. But yeah, I know a lot of you guys will be worrisome about the dogs. I'm putting the dogs in here, right, to add the juice for it. But without it, they're still very valid, bro. They're still very good plays. If you're worried about any of the picks, like maybe you don't want Delgado, I put him in a lot. You take out Delgado, leave Sadykhov, you still have fantastic plays. You replace Delgado with Valter Walker, I actually think that's not a bad idea either if you're worried about it. Like you can see at the bottom, Walker's in it. But let's say we did that, 6-1 call, and I'm going to make that without Delgado. If you're like, I don't want to go for an up-and-coming guy, he hasn't proven enough to me, I respect that take. So let's go Gregory Rodrigues in the main. Okay, I like this parlay a lot. This is why we do the post-weigh-in savagery, understand me? Rodrigues in the main, okay? We're going to go Bonfim early in the night, plus 113 for those two, okay? Running it with that, okay? Valter Walker to win, all right? Plus 199 for Rodrigues, Bonfim, and Valter Walker as opposed to Delgado. And then if you throw the side of Sadykhov back in there because you want the plus money, like, dog, I'm trying to chase this big shit, plus 781, you actually get a better line without Delgado. If you do have a worry about Delgado, maybe like, I don't want to bet a debuting guy or something like that, I get it. If you don't want Bonfim either, you're like, bro, I'm fading both the brothers. Well, Walker, Rodrigues, Sadykhov still at plus 497, so nearly plus 500. You add in Cavalcanti, she should win. It's plus 588. Little extra calls. At the end of the day, those are some money parlays. You don't got to do exactly what you see on the screen. I just like to write those out as like the templates to base off of and then elaborate a little bit further. I wish you guys nothing but luck if you're placing bets. Please, if you're throwing money down, do your own research. Don't blindly tell. You understand me? Happy Valentine's Day to the people watching. I hope you guys enjoy your days with, your mates. Much love to all of you. I'll see you all for the Fight Companion. Smash the likes. If you're new, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on, and don't just leave them on personalized. Put them on all so you don't miss a video or a stream, because I do lunchtime lives at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, Monday to Friday. 2 streams a day because I also do an evening stream on top of the normal content flow with videos almost every day of the week. So keep it locked in on the channel. I love you all. Let me know what you think of the picks in the comments, and W in the comments if you got nothing to say to boost the algorithm for your boy. Thanks for watching, my people. I'll see you all on the next one. Peace out.